Hey, welcome to today's video where we're going to be doing some test equipment repair. Today we have this broken Agilent 33120A function generator, and the problem that I know it has, there's no waveform on the output. So it passes self-test, so I don't think there's anything major wrong with this. It's probably something simple inside here, maybe a loose connection. But yeah, if you have one of these Agilents with no output but passes the self-test, this video will probably help you. And even if you don't, stick around, you'll get to see the inside of one of these and see how we fix it. So yeah, let's get started on this thing and take a look, see what's going on inside. All right, so let's just go ahead and power it up. And normally, as soon as you turn these things on, you have output on them. Yeah, we should be getting a 1 kilohertz sine wave with an amplitude of 100 millivolts. We'll try to get it in different range. We could hear it click there. We're in another range. And now we're in another range. And then there was one more. And yeah, so as we go up, there's still no output. So no matter what range we're in, we're not getting output. We can also change any of the different waveforms and still nothing, no output. Okay, so we can go into the menus. Do the test menu, test all, and it's going to run the self-test. So as you can see, we ran the self-test. It didn't throw any errors up on the screen, so it was happy with the self-test. So pretty much all of this Keysight Agilent HP equipment from this air come apart the same way. You generally have to bring this straight up like that, pulls off, and then the rubber bumpers come off just by peeling them off of it. They're just kind of held in by little rubber clips. And yeah, you can see the feet are on this. Yeah, and the text is backwards, so somebody put that on upside down. And same thing, this just peels off. It's kind of a pain to get off. There you go. And then it's like 3 screws to get inside of it. You have 1 here and then 2 there. If you had to take this front panel off, there's another screw right here, but we're not taking this panel off. We're just gonna slide the body off of it. So we'll need a Torx driver. And then this guy should just slide right off. And there you go. It's as simple as that to get inside here. So that's the inside of one of these. A common problem you'll have with this generation of Keysight equipment, their DMMs and everything, is a lot of used equipment that you might get off of eBay or somewhere else will have a lot of hours on this VFD. The VFD will start to get dim. So the easiest way to get it is you'll find people on eBay selling just the parts of them, because they'll have like a broken board or something, so they'll just be selling the working parts of them. And you just buy the front cover and you take this screw off and this ribbon cable and those 2 connections right there, and you can take this off and just slide another front panel on there. Just make sure the part numbers match on them. On the newer stuff, you'll get an error if you do that, but this older stuff generally will let you just swap them as long as the part number's the same on the sticker. They have a little sticker here with a part number on it. So yeah, I would suspect we either have a problem maybe a bad relay. These guys are all relays right here. Or we'll just start with the simple things. There is a fuse right here. We can check that, and we can just, if the fuse is good, we can take this. So the bottom one's your output. And so we'll trace from here to the fuse, and then we can trace from the fuse where it goes, and basically trace our way backwards from there. Just take a nice systematic approach, because since it passes self-test, the problem's not going to be way down in here, because it does check in the self-test that it's generating a signal. So, so the signal's getting generated. So we just need to find, it's probably either this thing's loose or the fuse is blown. So let's just check those real quick. This may be an easy repair. Okay, so let's just start from the top here. We have we have continuity from the output here to where it comes in. So we know there's not a problem with the wire and the connection's good there. So the next thing to check will be the fuse. So let's check it, and it appears to be open. So yeah, we're no connection at the fuse. So we got a blown fuse. So yeah, easy fix. So we'll take this fuse off and replace it and see if it works now. And this is actually a really common fuse in test equipment, so I actually already have some on hand, luckily. All right, let's just flow a little bit of fresh solder on there to make that easier to get off. All right, so this one is a half amp, and I got another, I got another half amp right here. So another common one that's about the same size is 3/4 amp, but it looks like I had the right one on hand already. It's just a little isopropyl alcohol to clean off the flux there. And there we go, good as new. We got a new fuse installed in there. So let's slide the cover back on this thing and see if we have output now. Okay, these covers are not tricky to get back on. The main thing is just making sure you line these guys back up right. So slides in. And see, I didn't get it lined up right, so it caught right there. So let's slide it back out. And there we go. That time it went in right, and we're in right there. Yep. Okay, so we put that screw back in that came out of the bottom. And then the bumpers we'll put on after we check it. Make sure it's working before we get carried away with the reassembly. All right, so let's turn this thing back on, and look at that. Already got some output there. So let's go to amplitude. Okay, so the amplitude seems to be higher than it thinks it is. It's probably because it's set in 50 ohm termination. So let's go back into the menus here, shift menu, because this is a high impedance. So we'd want to set that. Okay, shift menu, system, output termination, high Z, enter. Okay, so now that actually matches what's on the scope there. So we can bring it back down to 3 volts peak to peak, and let's check this. So It's right on. Looks like it's working right. So yeah, that was an easy repair. We can go ahead and put the bumpers back on this thing and be done with it. And the jitteriness on the camera, the screen, is just because it's a multiplexed vacuum fluorescent display. They're actually really smooth looking in person. All right, now those bumpers go back on the same way they came off. You just kind of force them on over the plastic. One thing to be aware of when taking these bumpers on and off, especially the rear one, the one in the back, it likes to crack the plastic. You actually see this one starting to crack just a tiny bit there. It's where the screws hold it on, and then you go pulling on it really hard, it'll break it. So sometimes it's nice to take like a screwdriver and kind of put it in there to try to get it. If you use a screwdriver, you're going to scratch the paint. If you don't use a screwdriver, you might crack the plastic. I just, since somebody had taken it off before, I figured I'd just do that. Yeah. So yeah, pretty easy to put the handle back on. The direction that goes on is you should be able to read this text when it's up like this. This would be backwards if you're putting it on. So and it'll just go right in. So super easy to put on. And there we go. You know you got it in right if it'll stand up. So yeah, really easy repair. It's sometimes nice to have an easy repair come across the bench. Makes for a boring video for you guys, but you know, it's nice to have this fixed and back up and running. Give a little bit more information on these. If you buy one of these from overseas, or you're an overseas buyer and you get one of these, check the transformer inside it. Right here, you can pop that open and it rotates, so you can change what it's set for. So if you want to put this thing in a server rack or something that's at 220, you can take that out. You also have a fuse here, so if it's not working, you can check that fuse, and then this guy can come out and rotate, and it changes how the transformer is tapped. So you have your different voltage ratings there, and then you just rotate it on how you want your transformer tapped. The newer equipment has this same feature on it as well. So we're 120, but yeah, if you buy one of these things used off of eBay, or if you're gonna put it in a server rack, it's nice to know how to do it. And if it's not turning on, always check this fuse first. It's generally bad if it blew the fuse, like it's not working anymore, but it's still a good place to check before getting too far into it. So yeah, these ones of this generation, they come with GPIB and RS-232. They did not have Ethernet connections yet on these. I don't think they ever sold this model with a USB connection either. So yeah, I mean, they still have useful connections there. The software you saw me using that I wrote for the DMM over here, that's RS-232 as well. So, you know, these old instruments with Skippy commands on them are still very useful in automation, or if you're like me doing content on YouTube and you want to display what's going on the meters without having to put a camera on the meter itself. Well, I hope you guys liked today's video. I know it was a kind of simple repair here where we just opened it up and it turned out to be a blown fuse. I kind of figured it was gonna be an easy repair since it passed self-test, but you always want to start with the simplest troubleshooting and just kind of move in a systematic way to get there. So check to make sure you have all your connections, things are connected, and then start checking the fuses. You know, it's not always some super complex problem where you're going to have to get into the full theory of operation of the instrument, or if you're manufacturing something, you know, whatever you're manufacturing. These troubleshooting, sometimes people just go straight for the most complicated problem and they want to work their way out from there. And that's a lot of times what I do is if it's something I work on a lot, is I start where I know I normally have problems and branch out from there versus this type where we went straight from the output and just worked our way towards the relay. I figured it was either going to be a bad connection, the fuse, or, well, I didn't know there was a fuse, so I didn't figure it was the fuse, but I figured there was bad connection or made it to a bad relay. But it turned out there was a fuse in between the relay and the connection. So it was a super easy fix. But yeah, I hope you guys liked it. I have some more content coming up. I have a sponsored video that I've owed JLC PCB for a while, so it'll probably be the next video that I do. And then after that, I have some new circuit boards that I designed. I think y'all will be really excited for those circuit boards. So if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.